My coworker introduced me to this particular Red Bull, and I would like to take a moment to curse her and thank her because it has further enhanced my life and further destroyed my wallet. But regardless of what I'm spending my money on, what is going on, everybody? You can call me Kennerz, and welcome to another episode of PolyJAMourous series where I talk about music that I usually like but occasionally don't. And I am very excited to do this episode because we're going to be talking about my favorite band, C.U.R.I.O.S.I.T.Y, all the way from Japan. I have gone through like so many phases with bands that I don't think I ever saw the day where I would like really consistently follow a band for as long as I have, but I have been a huge fan of C.U.R.I.O.S.I.T.Y for 10 years now. They have been my favorite band ever, and I just cannot tell you how much I love them. So without further ado, let's get on to the history with C.U.R.I.O.S.I.T.Y. At the time it was formed, two of the members, Toru and Ryota, were in a hip-hop dance group called Heads, and Toru had been wanting to start a band for quite some time and finally decided to do it, so he got his best friend, who also happens to be Ryota, to learn to play bass, and he became the bassist for C.U.R.I.O.S.I.T.Y. And along with Ryota, they got two of their classmates, Yuko Yanagi, who was the original drummer, and Alex Onizawa, who was the original guitarist, or I guess original lead guitarist, I feel like I should say. When the band was first formed, they did not have an actual vocalist, so Toru took over the position for a little bit until he came across Taka. At the time, Taka was in a cover band called Chivalry of Music, and from my understanding, Toru just kind of happened to come across Taka, and well, the story of how he got Taka to join the band, I think, is pretty damn funny and also a little bit baffling. I'm gonna say about 8 years ago, I remember coming across this interview with Taka where he talked about how he joined the band. So I have that audio clip right here, and I'm just gonna let it play.
I think it was when I was 16 years old.
Nie było 16 тогда.
I was working at a restaurant, and I was a quick school, so that's why I had a job at the restaurant. But he was literally a student still, and after school he came to our restaurant like all the time, like 3 hours, 4 hours just sitting, and then he never like like order to like some food, just water,
just
and sitting. And then came to here, and what are you doing here? He was just saying like, if you want to come to our rehearsal, I'm gonna leaving, but if you not stay, I'm gonna stay here. And then, okay, I'm down, so please get out of here right now.
Every time I listen to that, it just cracks me up. Like I said, it's baffling, but I also find it really funny. So Taka ended up becoming the vocalist for C.U.R.I.O.S.I.T.Y, and they had that little lineup for a little bit. However, it did not last long because eventually you decided to leave. Eventually, I make it sound like a long time. You decided to leave the band in order to pursue his acting career, and well, this is where Tomoya comes into play. So at the time when Tomoya came across this opportunity, he was actually in a couple of other projects at the time, so he wasn't really looking for anything, but he ended up just kind of thinking, why not with the band? It was supposed to be a temporary thing, and he just thought might as well help him out for a little bit. However, this little bit of time ended up becoming much longer than I think any of them could have expected, because about a month before their debut album, DETOX in 2007, Tomoya ended up becoming the official drummer for C.U.R.I.O.S.I.T.Y. So for the first few years of their career, C.U.R.I.O.S.I.T.Y consisted of the five guys. Taka as the vocalist, Toru as the rhythm guitarist, Alex as the lead guitarist, Ryota as the bassist, and then Tomoya as the drummer. Under this lineup, they would release 3 albums. Like I said, DETOX was their first one, then they had Beam of Light, and then Kanjo Effect. However, in 2009, the band would go through one more lineup change due to some very unfortunate circumstances. And by that, I mean somebody was a fucking idiot. Allegedly, just to cover my own ass. In 2009, Alex ended up inappropriately touching a female college student on a train. He got arrested for it, and the case was settled out of court. I'm gonna say rightfully Alex ended up getting kicked out of the band due to this whole situation. Just in case being a man down in your band wasn't bad enough, they also had to cancel the nationwide tour that they were supposed to have that year in Japan. I will make a quick little disclaimer here. It has been a few years since I've seen Flip a Coin, which is their documentary on Netflix. If you guys want something else to watch, I would recommend it. It was really cool. But yeah, what I remember from their documentary on Netflix, they had tried a few different people to replace Alex, however, nobody really could. And at the end of the day, Toru felt as the leader of the band, he needed to take on the extra responsibility of the guitarist role. All of their songs that they had made to that point, they rearranged them to fit one guitar instead of two. And ever since 2009, One OK Rock has consisted of the four guys that I know and love. The lineup ever since 2009 has consisted of Taka as the vocalist, Toru as the guitarist, Ryota as the bass, and then Tomoya as the drummer. So over their now 20-year career, One OK Rock has released 11 albums, with their latest one being DETOX, which we're going to be talking about today. Like I literally just said, they've done 11 albums, they've done tons of national and international tours, they've made concert DVDs of, you know, some of those shows, like 2014 at Yokohama Stadium, which if you guys can find a way to watch it, I would recommend it. I was able to watch it before it got taken off YouTube, and it was such a cool show. Even just watching it on my screen, it was so fun, and I can only imagine what it was like to actually be there. So yeah, if you guys want a good concert DVD, would recommend 2014 at Yokohama Stadium. On top of those, they've done songs for video games. Their song Nothing Helps was for the Japanese version of the Devil May Cry reboot. They did Vandalize for Sonic Frontiers. Their song No Scared was for the Black Rock Shooter game, and I'm confident they've done more that I'm not even thinking of off the top of my head. And then one of their biggest accomplishments. So I was a fan of them by this point, and I was beyond thrilled when I saw this announcement. But back in 2015, they ended up announcing that they had signed on to their first American label, which was Warner Brothers Records, or Warner Music Group, whatever you want to call them. At the time that they got signed on to Warner Brothers, they had just released their album 35 a few months before that. And so their first record under their new label was an all-English version of their album 35. They also decided to add 2 more tracks to the record, which were Last Dance and The Way Back. To anybody who wants more of like your emo alternative sound, 35 definitely goes more that direction. But also for you Sleep With Sirens fans, Kellen Quinn was actually on the 9th track, which was Paper Planes.
Kellen Kwan.
That was the first album of theirs that I ever listened to, so yeah, clearly it got me into the band, so maybe it can do the same for you. Because these guys are great, and I love them. Clearly. And on top of all of that, back in 2021, One OK Rock ended their time with Amuse Records, which was their first Japanese record company. Might I take a minute to think that they started their own management company called 10969 Incorporated. You'll see that 3 out of the 4 members of One OK Rock have 10969 as a part of their username on Instagram. So, yeah, it's kind of a thing here. Yeah, point is, One OK Rock has done a lot, and they're just an incredible bunch of people who have worked their asses off to get to where they are, and I'm proud of them. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say on One OK Rock's history, so let's get on to DETOX. So DETOX was released on February 21st, 2025, and the album consists of 11 tracks, 6 singles, and some mixed reviews. The singles off of this album were Delusional, Dystopia, Matter, Puppets Can't Control You, Tropical Therapy, and then Curiosity as their latest one, which features Japanese rapper Chico Carlito and Japanese rock band Pale Dusk. The sound of this album in general, I would say it's One OK Rock's heaviest album yet. I can think of a couple of other tracks where the weight might have been comparable. The tracks that come to mind are both Mighty Long Fall and One by One, both of them from 35, but other than that, I can't think of too many other One OK Rock songs that go as hard as some of the tracks do on DETOX. So DETOX is definitely One OK Rock's heaviest album to date. As far as my personal opinion on the album as a whole, I would probably put this in my top 5 One OK Rock albums. If I had to pick a number 1 favorite One OK Rock album, it would probably be Luxury Disease, and then maybe 35, and probably the Japanese version of Ambition, so DETOX I would probably put at number 4 or 5. Although it is not in the top 3, I still thoroughly enjoyed the record. I thought Nasty was an incredible start to the record. It's a real banger. However, although I really enjoyed the album, not everybody did. So, as I said, the album did have some mixed reviews. It really just depended on where you checked. If you looked at Kerrang! And I believe it was Noise UK, both of them did not speak highly of One OK Rock. They said there might have been an okay track here and there, but for the most part, they were very disappointed in the album. I believe it was Noise UK that gave it a 2 out of 5, and I think Kerrang! Gave it a 2 out of 10. So if you Googled What OK Rock DETOX reviews, you are going to find the more negative things. However, if you look on Reddit and see what the fans were saying, the reviews were overwhelmingly positive. The only consistent complaints that I saw with DETOX were that it was overproduced, and a lot of people had an issue with the moaning that you hear in Nasty. And I would like to say, not to sound like a judgmental bitch, because I do understand that everybody's got their comforts, but also, some of y'all have never listened to Mr. Saxo Beat, and it shows. Moving on. Yeah, had some mixed reviews, but overall with the fans, everybody seemed to enjoy the record. I think that's all I have to say on DETOX as a whole, so moving on to my favorite tracks. So if I had to pick a number one favorite song off of DETOX, it would have to be Curiosity. When I first listened to the record, I would have put Party's Over as my number one. However, as I've listened to DETOX more and more and had a new appreciation for Curiosity, I gotta put it at number one. I've got it. The reason why I like the melody is, as I'm sure I've stated in previous videos, what few I have at this point, I can go for just about anything, but I definitely like my headbangers, and Curiosity is hands down one of those. So I love the heaviness and the badassery of the music. I think it was during Chico's verse where the way that the guitar was played and the distortion that they added onto it, I swear to God, it sounded like it was out of a Fallen in Reverse song, like Voices in My Head or Zombified. So I loved having that little connection to another band that I really enjoy. It was fucking sick. I love the melody. The lyrics, I didn't entirely catch them the first time. As I think I said in my All City video, I don't always catch lyrics the first few listens. But once I looked up the lyrics for Curiosity, I've seen them, I related to the song a lot more than I thought I would. So the meaning behind Curiosity is just having the desire to change your reality and putting in the effort to do that very thing and just seeing what the hell happens. I relate to that because that's what I'm doing right now. I would like to say I by no means have a bad reality. I have a family that loves me and would do anything for me. I have a wonderful set of friends that loves me and would do anything for me. I got a stable job with an incredible set of coworkers. I am very lucky in a lot of ways. Although I recognize that I have a good life in a lot of ways, it's still not a life that I necessarily want to be living, hence why I'm doing this YouTube thing, in the hopes that, God willing, it will all work out. So I relate to Curiosity because I'm trying to change my reality right now. So I want to give a quick shout out to my friends and my family for being so incredibly supportive of this whole thing I'm doing. I really want to give a shout out to every single person who has subscribed or will subscribe at this point, to every single person who is giving me a view, giving me like any bit of support that any of you guys watching this video have shown me. Seriously, thank you so much for the support. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it, and hopefully I can turn this whole thing into something pretty damn cool. Thank you, arigato, gracias, whatever you want to go with, just thank you everybody so much. Now that I've taken a moment to be a sentimental little bitch, that's why Curiosity is my favorite. The melody is something I consistently love, and I relate to the lyrics. But before I go, I do want to add this one thing about the lyrics. I probably took a few too many times to catch on to this, but one thing I thought was super cool with the lyrics was just how clever they were. I always found it interesting that they spelled out curiosity in the title and in the song. But as I listened to the lyrics, I caught on to the pattern that they had, and that was them actually spelling out the word within the chorus. And I don't mean just later in the chorus when Taka explicitly spells out curiosity, I mean within the wording. See everything that you really fucking are. I-O-S. I hate reality. Sometimes I don't know why. My curiosity. I thought that was so damn clever. I loved it. It made me love the song even more than I already did. Now I'm done with Curiosity. Moving on to number 2, I would put this at Party's Over. So I fell in love with this track from the second I first listened to it, and I just haven't stopped loving it. It's been in my top 3 the entire time DETOX has been out. I'm just kind of learning that I'm a bit of a sucker for songs that start out with the acoustic guitar and then go into the electrical one later, and that's what Party's Over does. It starts out with the acoustic, and then it probably about 10 seconds in goes into the electric, and you get the good shit. I just really enjoy the song in general, but I also found it really interesting that it reminds me of a couple of other tracks actually, which I will get into in a minute, because the lyrics from what I could gather, unless I'm like completely wrong here, it's a story of being done with somebody's shit and cutting them out of your life. I think that's something that we can all relate to. It is one thing to have a problem here and there with somebody. It is another thing entirely for them to consistently not be good for you and continually prove to you that they are not worth keeping in your life. Yeah, so I love the tune of Party's Over, and as I've said, Party's Over does remind me of a couple of other tracks. The first one actually being another One OK Rock track. It's called 2020, and it was track 5 on the Japanese version of their album Ambitions. The guitar in the beginning and the way that it kind of sounds throughout, it just reminds me of 2020, which I am 1000% okay with. I absolutely love that song. It is probably my favorite song off of Ambitions, and so I'm not gonna say no to Party's Over sounding kind of like that. Not only do I think the sound of 2020 and Party's Over kind of like remind me of each other, but I think the meaning of Party's Over also feels very 2020, because 2020 also has the I'm done with your shit sound. That's what I could gather from the lyrics, and I just find it really interesting because I think, at least in my mind, 2020 and Party's Over kind of come from different places. I think 2020, when it comes to cutting somebody out of your life, it sounds like it's coming from a place of like genuine hurt, and Party's Over has a certain confidence to it. So not only does Party's Over kind of remind me of 2020, honestly, the way that the guitar is played in the beginning also kind of reminds me of the ending version of Sonic Boom. To me, it sounds like there's a little bit of a finger picking kind of thing going on in Party's Over at the start, and that's what it sounds like to me in Sonic Boom. Yeah, so it's a little thing, but it's nice to also have it give me that little bit of nostalgia, not only from my late high school, early college years with 2020, but also a piece of my childhood with it kind of making me think of Sonic Boom. So I think that's all I have to say on Party's Over. So last but most certainly not least, I would have to give the number 3 spot to Tropical Therapy. So as soon as I saw the name Tropical Therapy, all I could think was, oh my god, this is gonna be my song, and oh my god, it was my song. So the melody of it, I liked that it was one of the more chill tracks on it. Something about it, okay, chill is relative. Actually, no, chill but powerful. I like that the melody was chill but powerful. The first part of Tropical Therapy is definitely more that chill, slow sound, and then probably about 45 seconds, a minute in, that's when the power kicks in, and suddenly you really feel like certain burst of emotion. Like the emotion in the song that was there to that point, it really comes out, and it's really cool and beautiful, and I absolutely love it. The lyrics of it are pretty simple. It's just wanting to leave wherever you're at in order to go to a more, tropical place, ideally, to just get away for a while. And as somebody who wants to be by the beach, I hardcore relate to that. I was raised in the Northwest US. That has a certain ring to it. I was raised in the Northwest US, and so I've been around the mountains all my life, and I'm a beach girly. So I was definitely able to relate to this because of the fact that it talks about, getting away and ideally going to somewhere more tropical. So, a beach where I want to be. Not to mention, I hate the damn cold. Yeah, one thing my friends and my family will frequently hear me say is FTC, which stands for fuck the cold. Either that, I would just say fuck the cold. I'm over it. Yeah, so I relate to Tropical Therapy because as somebody who lives in the mountains, I don't want to be. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say on Tropical Therapy. I feel like I've been recording long enough and talking y'all's ear off long enough. Regardless of how long I've been yapping for, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't checked out One OK Rock, please go check them out. They are an incredibly talented bunch of guys. I had the pleasure of meeting them a couple of years ago, which was an absolute dream come true, and they were truly some of the sweetest people ever. I love them so much. So yeah, please go give them some love. Just as always, if you guys have anything that you think I should check out, please leave a recommendation in the comments below. I am always down for new music. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are, and I will see you guys later with another video. Later.